A few weeks ago when Halo Campaign Evolved was announced, I made a video comparing Metroid fans and Halo fans. And I felt like I couldn't make a one-to-one comparison between the two. I felt like Halo fans were so far, far gone, so much more far gone when it comes to the walls that they put up around the series, the limitations that they put up around the series moving beyond the original few games, and for many people, just the original. And I was like, Metroid fans aren't like that at all. Fast forward a few weeks, boy, was I wrong. I was wrong. Because the moment that isolation was challenged, everything changed. And here's the funniest part: isolation isn't even being challenged like that. Now, granted, a lot of what we've seen when it comes to gameplay of this game and what people have played of this game, the original demo, this demo included Federation soldiers running around and a lot going on, laying the foundation for what's surely going to become a game where these Federation soldiers can't do what Samus do, so Samus got to go do it.
You see it in the portion of gameplay with Miles McKenzie that everybody wants to force everyone to think is bad. But I find it really cool when he's like, oh, you can interface with the machine. And if later on in the game somebody goes, whoa, you can turn into a ball, which people have been making that joke, or, oh, you could screw attack or run through walls. It doesn't matter to me because how would they know? They know of Samus Aran. They ain't there on adventures seeing us when we get all these different upgrades and all these previous adventures. So to me, it makes sense that while her name ring bells in the universe and you're right next to her, you're going to be freaking out because she's not one of y'all. She towers over y'all. You know what I'm saying? She's a humanoid alien who's been rocking with the Federation forever. So she's known within the Federation because she was part of it. Then she dipped and started doing her own lone bounty hunter thing. And whenever they need her, she still will show up for them. So she's known. So to me, it makes perfect sense. And this section right here, it's still isolating. Like, you find McKenzie, you gotta fight enemies, you gotta protect him, and then you get to this spot. He's like, "Oh, you can interface with the machine. That's awesome." And then he stays there with the machine, and he says, "You go scout ahead." And that's when it's gonna become isolating. But some people are like, "Nah, but he still can talk to you through your comms." That doesn't mean he will all the time. An Aurora unit could talk to you through the comms. You know what I'm saying? The comms would connect with you through the I guess the onboard AI that Samus has in Metroid Prime 1 to give you hints in your map and stuff like that. So to me, the isolation aspect is still very much intact. It's just there's going to be times where you're going to be sharing in the isolation. Isolation is one aspect of it. But people acting like isolation being challenged in any way, shape, or form breaks the entire experience that is Metroid. Like, isolation is one, and dare I say, a small aspect of Metroid. Because as much as isolation is a part of it, isn't desolation also a part of it? Why is that word never used? But the word that was in some old review in some video game magazine just stood with the series forever. That's one aspect. You know what else is an aspect of the puzzle? Atmosphere. And let me tell you, there's different kinds of atmosphere. To sit there and be like, oh yeah, Miles McKenzie completely ruins the atmosphere. Listen, I watched Endgame. I watched people clap, cheer, cry. Ant-Man was right there, bringing so much levity to a lot of moments within that movie. And there was levity all throughout. Why? Because, well, it's a Marvel movie. And I know that's being used right now in the way to crap on this game. But when it's Ryan Reynolds doing it as Deadpool, they go with it. When it's Spider-Man doing it, they go with it. While we on the topic of movies, it's been 40 years. Everybody's a hardcore Metroid fan. Everybody's telling Nintendo what the game must be, needs to be, can only be, should never, ever, ever be. It's been 40 years. So what was the IP that influenced Metroid? I know you know the answer. Alien. Samus was revealed to be a woman at the end of the original Metroid. That was a surprise in the same way Ellen Ripley being the lone survivor of the Nostromo was a surprise. Let me ask you a question. Was Alien 1 a very isolated movie? Because I think it really, really was. And I know everyone who watched it felt like that. You were trapped on the ship. It was just a group of y'all, and there was an alien here. What the hell is going on? It was very claustrophobic, isolating. And Ellen Ripley, when they were all around sitting down discussing, hey, what we gonna do? There's this creature running around. We got to find it. Everybody got their missions. Everybody went and did their thing, and everybody had their own isolating, horrifying experiences. I'm saying this because Ellen Ripley was not alone. And then in the second movie, they introduced the Colonial Marines, and most people agreed, like Terminator 2, one of the greatest sequels of all time. You could prefer the first movie more to the second one, and I get it because I also tend to juggle between Terminator 1 and 2, like which one is my favorite, but it really don't matter because Sarah Connor Chronicles is better than both. Anyway, yo, these movies, what inspired this game, have isolating elements to it even when the ensemble cast is together. When they're separated, it becomes more isolated. That's just the way I look at what they're going to do with Beyond. And I've seen some gameplay from the Japanese website. And there was a moment later on in the game. Honestly, this was later on in the game. Clearly, I don't know how much later. But it's when you with the dude who everybody wants to be Anthony. You know what I'm saying? And he gets I don't know, like they find the weapon. It's in cinematic, and then you see like he says something like, "Yeah, let's take these guys out." And when it goes into the gameplay element, you see him freeze one of the robots. He shoots it, bro, in gameplay, and he goes, "Oh, the ice freezes freezes them." And I'm like, "Is that gonna bother you? That there's an actual soldier there putting in his 2 cents? He just got this upgraded weapon. You saw it in the cinematic, and now he's saying it. That's actually a way of telling the player, hey, use your ice beam." And I know it's right in the nose. Oh my God, you don't need to tell me. Let me figure it out by myself. And da da da. I understand. I play Metroid 2. I understand. I swear where y'all coming from. I understand it. But understand, there's gonna be people who've never played a game where you're doing anything like Metroid, where it's like switching beams. Like seriously, name right now 5 games where you sitting there switching beams. Like yeah, they're switching weapons, and most of the time, people, for example, they'll play Doom, and they just want to play it with a super shotgun, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I just want to run through it. It's like, yo, man, this game is crap because it's like, yo, switch weapons. There's a reason why you have different weapons. Like Doom isn't some rocket science hard game to play. It's just, yo, you got to utilize your different weapons. But the game actually treats the weapons damn near like beams in Metroid, where it's like, yeah, the ice beam is going to work better with that ice enemy. For example, we was all wondering when we were seeing the swarm of wolves attacking Samus in the gameplay, like, man, how's she going to take those out? One hit is, straight up wrecking half her health bar. And then you realize, oh, yeah, that's right. There's going to be a heat beam for the ice enemy, which is going to take them out. And then you see them straight up just melt into flames. I don't know. Anyway, you use your heat beam on them and all that. And it's like, that's how you take them out, right? And I get it. I'm not, look, I don't believe at all that it's going to be everything is going to be spoon fed to you as a player. But I do think that there's going to be elements of items that you get from the Federation. Those are going to be, let's just say, highlighted by the Federation soldier who gave it to you. You get what I'm saying? So I look at it like that. Like it'll be certain things that they're going to use for story beats. And then there's going to be times you're going to be alone. And it's no different from Alien. You know what I'm saying? Like you work your way to the whole experience is still isolating, bro. Like people are like, this stupid empty desert. While saying that they want the game to be like the desert. It's a desert. Literally isolation. You out there by yourself on your Viola bike. Right? And then everybody got warped to this place that they didn't want to come to. That's already isolated. It's always going to be isolated. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just weird. It's just weird how people seem to only find isolation in this rigid way. You know what I'm saying? But enough about that, man. I'm just saying, Alien, very isolating. All of the movies have been. And they all have cool ensemble casts. And Sam is having that. I'm more than happy with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I want more to the series. So having the character there during these moments where he's being attacked, you got to protect him, that adds a whole different layer to what Samus already been doing. It just spices up the experience that you always had. There's going to be a moment when you've been making something for so long that you're going to say, all right, let's challenge the tropes. Not saying we're not going to land back in the tropes, but let's challenge it a little bit. And that's what this is. It's challenging the way they teach the player. They're challenging the way
the player experiences the world, right? Because you're not alone and isolated the whole time. And that's a good thing. I think about isolation, right, in a series. And you think about desolation. Metroid 1, Metroid 2, definitely. Metroid 3, that's super. Metroid 4, that's fusion. Let's stop right there. One, two, three. Three was the one that added a lot more of a cinematic vibe with its opening and everything, gave the game a lot of intrigue and atmosphere. And remember, we're coming off of 8-bit, we're on 16-bit now. Every other IP is about to go beyond anything they ever did before. Metroid is going to miss out on that moment. But still, Metroid 4 will come out on a console closer to the console where Super Metroid came out than to the console where Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time happened, where Star Fox 64 happened. But Metroid 4 introduces Adam, a lot more cinematic, a much bigger focus on narrative. And at the time, it got crapped on for that. And I understood, but I was like, you know what? I like this game. Because while, yeah, it had talking and stuff like that, it didn't really break the atmosphere to me. It was an intriguing story. Like, what is this voice? And da da da. And when I was doing the Metroid stuff, it was all still good. It was all still there. There's, a screw attack and secrets and upgrading myself and, puzzles and all of that. It's amazing. And epic boss fights. It's epic, fantastic boss fights. Boss fights that challenge anything in Super Metroid or 2 or 1. It was amazing. And then they remade Zero Mission. So now the series is being brought up to the new age. And isolation is still a part of it. And then they threw isolated Zero Suit Samus in there. But they gave you a lot more story in that game too, with its cinematics and everything. It made it so where it's like, I'm never playing Metroid 1 again. Much love to that game. Thank you for being the pioneer of this. I'm playing Zero Mission every single time. Every single time. Because it's that great of a game. And then what would be happening around that time? Metroid Prime 1. You had a much bigger cinematic feel to it. So it's like, yeah, look, it's having its moment now. The one that it didn't have on the previous console because it missed 64. It's having it now on GameCube, right? And so they found their foot, and it was a lot. They were building the studio from the ground up. Raven Blades and football games, all these games were canceled from Retro Studios. They were only focusing on Metroid, and that was it was a process to get to that game. So when they finally were comfortable, had their engine, had everything, and they decided to do 2, the Federation became a massive focus on the game. There was dialogue in the game, epic cinematics, you know what I mean? And other characters talking to you. It wasn't just a dead civilization and just desolation. Nah, there was more to it, And conversation became a part of the series from Metroid 4 to 5. Dread, Samus even talked in that game. Characters talked to her. The villain talked. The villain wasn't just some brain, and yeah, that's it. Like, no, it was a character. Just like Silex is going to be. And Silex is being shaded just for being a character within the Metroid universe. Some people even hated on Dark Samus because they feel like, oh, it's just generic to have a clone. I'm like, but it's okay when you got Shadow Mario running around. It's okay when you got Shadow Link running around. This is a trope of many games, you know what I'm saying? So I've always been good with it. I was good with the SAX and all of that. Like, I thought that was great too. There was so many good things added to Metroid after 1, 2, and 3, which were very isolating games. Prime was very much Super Metroid. Let's just make that on a console, almost like Ocarina of Time was very much so Link to the Past. And it was awesome for that. But the moment that they found their footing, they introduced a lot of story. And then Prime 3, a lot of story. Other M, story, but it missed. A lot of us didn't enjoy that story delivery. We thought the acting was mediocre and all that. The fact that people even trying to compare the acting to this game, Miles McKenzie, what we saw from there, or even the characters in the actual 7-minute overview trailer, that's nuts. That's wild. Because it's so good. It's such good acting. Like, for any video games out there, this is genuinely really good acting.
So I say all that to say this. It's 2025. And I've talked about Metroid for years. When people didn't care about Metroid no more, when people wasn't not saying we always care. Everybody, even when they get quiet and there's nothing going on with it right now, yeah, I was still the one talking about Metroid, right? So when it wasn't Metroid hype time, I was on Metroid. Hopefully it'll be hype time soon. Always talking Metroid. And in 2025, when I think of this IP that I love, I don't think about only the experience that was pretty much exclusive to 4 games in the series, which is Metroid 1, 2, 3, and kind of Metroid Prime, because while I'm saying 4 games, I really want to say 3 games, because Metroid Prime, they didn't just have scanning in order to find secrets like in Super Metroid. No, it was scanning in order to read dialogue, text, story, world building, God forbid. And I know some of y'all gonna be like, oh no, but that's not the problem. I like that part. You're alone, and da 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 da. But still, no, still, it's adding text, it's adding dialogue. You gotta stop in order to read. And there was also dialogue literally spoken in Metroid Prime, depending on what version you had. There was dialogue at the beginning and there was dialogue at the end. So really, I don't even want to count that game because there's talking. God forbid, there's talking. That's the problem. Once you break the atmosphere with someone speaking or whatever the case may be, if you want to be really solid with it, there's 3 isolating games. And they're isolating because of the era that they were made in. They were made in the era where most games were isolating for the most part. Because Mario was isolating, you running around basically by yourself, going underground and doing all this weird stuff. I felt isolated there. I really did. Zelda, also, I'm in the dungeon. The imagery I always got is Link with a torch, which now you actually be doing in, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and walking through a dungeon and going down some stairs the same way you would in Skyward Sword or something. And then you in this dungeon, there's nothing there but enemies and things that are a threat to you, And it's time to desolate everything. And that was also the case, don't forget, with the other side of Metroidvania, Castlevania. And as that series progressed, more characters got introduced, and some of the best games in that series are the ones that include other characters. And because of that, they got a Netflix show. And that Netflix show is one of the most popular shows. And it caused the effect of something like Tomb Raider getting an animation, and the Devil May Cry getting an animation. Now game sales of Devil May Cry are higher than they've ever been because of that animation. Hell, the Splinter Cell that they just put out is getting rave reviews. Everybody's saying it's a really good Splinter Cell show, and that's world building on that IP. Basically, I'm saying all this right now real quick just to say is that all these limitations that y'all put on the IP can really stifle it growing beyond even the medium. Like, y'all want to keep Metroid into something where it's like, yeah, how do we turn that, how do we adapt that into anything if there's nothing there? It's just a character running through murder and everything, just desolation, more than even isolation, because that's really what y'all want. Y'all want the desolation more than the isolation. Because again, you could do isolation with people around, but y'all don't want the series to grow. Y'all don't want it to be anything. This is real selfishness. This is like this little clubhouse, and Metroid is my thing, and da da da. No. And it hasn't been like that for many, most entries, many years, most game entries. So yeah, 3 games. The rest of them, they've been heavy on story, and heavy on the cinematics, and heavy on breaking up the moments of isolation with some story beats. And then they throw you back into isolation, and you get to desolate everything. Like, that's cool. I enjoy that because it gives the game more. And people say things like, oh yeah, it should be all behind the scenes and just allude to things. That's what it should be. The whole game should be a mystery. Even the story, everything needs to be isolated. Like, no, the name of the game ain't Isolation Troid. It's Metroid. And the people who create the IP get to take the IP where they want to take it. In the same way, there's people who are against what Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are. And they prefer that old thing. But guess what? The majority like this a lot. And if you think you can sit there and say, oh, but Metroid Prime 1, that was the best-selling game, and Super Metroid was one of the best-selling entries in the series. Well, I remember every conversation because I had it a million times. I'm sure many of you did, so let's not change history now. Why did Metroid Prime 1 sell the way it sold, and Metroid Prime 2 and then Metroid Prime 1 on a install base of over 100 million didn't sell nowhere near?
Prime 2. Well, let me not say nowhere near. They were close, but they didn't sell the full 2 million and change. Why is that? Because the people who bought Metroid Prime 1 originally thought it was going to be what game again? They thought it was going to be like what game again? Halo, right? So then we saw the drop off on sales in 2 and 3, and we all understood that. We always said that because people bought it thinking it was going to be something that it wasn't. And it was an FPA, not an FPS. You know, even though 2 tried to have multiplayer, it was Shadow. La, la, la. We remember these conversations, or at least a lot of us Metroid fans who were Metroid fans back then remember these conversations. So when you look at the sales, Dread, sales are great. And somebody say, oh yeah, but that's fully isolating and everything. Nah, I'm standing there talking to a computer. The computer's talking to me. Other characters are talking to me. And I'm talking to them. That's Metroid Dread. You know, and somebody say, oh yeah, but the way they handled it there is different from, you know, how overbearing it is in Prime 4. And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. A few people said these things, and now everybody's like, yeah, I'm in agreement with that the whole game. And it's like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this is a moment in a 30-hour game. I know I've said this already multiple times in multiple videos, but understand, like, it's wild to just boil down the whole game and be like, yeah, game is trash, blah, 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 just because of a different way of going about doing a tutorial in the game. And you know how many games you've played where they've done the tutorial different? There's really cool tutorials. There's tutorials that is like, yeah, that one could have been better or done differently. The point is, it's been 20 years, they're going to go about it like this. Resident Evil had a bunch. Some were better than others. 4 was crazy because it was like, yo, listen, you're going to learn how to play right here. You know? And you had to hit every beat, basically, that they wanted you to hit before everything would wrap up. And the bell would ring and everybody would go away. And then you start, you know, getting comfortable with what that game is about to be. You can sit here and compare it to other games, say this game did it better, da, da, da. The fact of the matter is we haven't even played this game yet. When does the game actually start? Is it when you get your red suit? Is it when you get Viola and you open up the world where now you can go and potentially choose which biome you want to go to in the order that you want? We don't know. What we've seen is Federation Station. Then we've seen traveling through space and time. Now on this random planet with this one Federation soldier that we first are introduced to, who clearly looks like he's basically on a ride along with the Federation. It's like, yeah, you're good at, you know, reading the plants and knowing about all this science nonsense. So you're coming, you know what I mean? But he didn't choose to come to this planet where we all got sent to by accident. You know, he chose to go to that one station where it was all well and good. He didn't know it was going to be attacked by space pirates or anything like that. But that happened. They got warped. Now he's there and he's tripping out. And the funny part is, I got to repeat it. The dude is a geek. Yet all the geeks on the internet, the supposed geeks, all hate this guy. Oh, I don't hate him because he's a geek. I hate him because, you know, the quips and stuff like that. God forbid there's a little bit of levity there. There could be levity so that when they take him out specifically, you feel it and be like, damn, I feel it because that was the first guy I met. He was kind of my god. And if you're a player who's new to Metroid, and you're like, this guy's the one who taught me how to open doors, then, and that's not the case because actually if you want to talk about the design of the game, all of that stuff, oh, practice hitting these 4 things. They teach you how to aim at the beginning of the game with all these other characters talking to you. Why nobody complained about that? They thought, oh, no, that's enough. Right? No, but then it's like, all right, now you're in this world. Now you got to figure out all of this stuff and the save station over there and da 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 da. And they just did it again. They did it the way we like, I guess, at the beginning. And then it's like, all right, let's make it more clear through story for the Uncharted player or the Call of Duty player. And I get a lot of people like, yeah, I don't care about those players. I just want my isolating experience. And it's like, yeah, but Metroid hasn't been that for a very long time. And if you stuck in really, I mean, you could count Prime, but really it's a 1994 game design. If you want them to stay there forever, look, it's not like I'm telling you not to be a Metroid fan, but I'm saying if you do genuinely not like this experience, it's time to move on. Because I don't know if you noticed, the series been moved on. And they've tried many things from pinball to hunters, which included more characters, because clearly they want to expand this universe and make it bigger. It isn't that they're copying off Halo. It isn't anything like that. It's that everything has grown and became bigger. Look, there's people right now who hate modern Doom. Modern Doom 2016, Eternal, Dark Ages. I love those games. Every single one to me is a 10 out of 10, and they're different experiences, completely different. And some people might look at it from the outside and be like, no, they're not really completely different. Like, yes, they are. Because if that wasn't the case, then Eternal wouldn't be my favorite. And what takes it above the edge, more platforming than any of the other ones. See what I'm saying? They have different things. And people hated Eternal because of the design of the games and the tit for tat style you had to play and the weapons, the way you would have to alternate between them in order to make the game. There was a strategy between enemies. You know what I'm saying? You and the enemies, and how you interact when you got multiple enemies that are different, and how quick you got to move. And then there was platforming, and secrets to find and things like that. I love that about it. But that one was a lot more polarizing than felt like, even though it was a huge successful game, a lot of people felt like, yeah, I preferred the easier 2016 because it was basically a lot more of a, dare I say, shallower experience. And then I felt like Eternal found like this nice, not Eternal, Dark Ages found this nice middle ground. But that series got to change from being the old rigid. Imagine if dudes was doing what they do to Halo and what they doing now with Metroid. Is what Metroid can't be nothing else but this. The moment there's a character there broken, bad, done, they should cancel it and start again. I'll wait another 8 years if it don't have this Miles McKenzie guy. Like, wow, that's crazy. These dudes really think they got multiple lives, I guess, because I'm trying to play these games. I'm trying to see this game become a success. People now hoping for this game to fail. People out here talking about, yeah, I'm canceling pre-orders and all that. I'm like, damn, all that wait to not even touch the game, to just judge the game because you think that you were part of the cool kids club when it comes to Metroid, not understanding that shit hasn't been like that since 94. And you can say, okay, since 2001, cool. That's over 20 years ago still. So if you can't grasp what it is and accept what it is and get along for the ride and enjoy all the elements, the puzzles, the spider ball, the screw attack, the missile expansion, the energy beams, the different suits, the Viola stuff, the story, and if you can't enjoy all of it as a package as it comes, because your Metroid game is in there, there's just other aspects in it. You know what I'm saying? So if you can't enjoy it, then it's like, yeah, then I guess it's time to move on. But Metroid isn't just about isolation, and people could say that as much as they want, but that is not going to be the case, and it hasn't been the case. And there's a reason why so many people were waiting for Metroid Prime 4, and it seems now, looking how everybody reacting, they was waiting for Metroid Prime 1 again, the good old days. Give me Super Metroid. Yeah, I can't wait for that. And I'm just sitting there like, they better be making a sequel to Prime 3. They better be making a sequel to Prime 3. I want that Metroid universe that I've come to love. It includes different bounty hunters, the ones from Hunters, like Silex, and even the ones from Prime 3. And now you got all these other characters that I'm going to be connecting with. Awesome. You know what's funny? There was mad jokes in Prime 3 too. A bunch of them. And they were cheesy. But I guess a lot of people didn't play that, so they don't realize, like, all the criticism you're making right now, you can make a lot of those same criticisms about Prime 3. Yeah, it feels like it wasn't even like that. Even though people did talk about Prime 3 a lot, but mostly the criticism, the opening was like Halo. The opening was like Halo. And God forbid they change the elevator to a plane and people act like they changed the entire game design and everything is different. It was like, yeah, it was slightly different. But I don't understand how the plane was so much worse than an elevator. It's just a different loading screen. And one made you feel more like Samus, a bounty hunter. It just felt more special going from one planet to another, or visiting certain areas of a specific planet. But somehow that was bad. And that's when I realized, like, damn, people really just want this woman on foot, just landing your ship. The ship shouldn't be a character, shouldn't do anything. Like, there's people who don't even know that you could do, like, basically like kill streak stuff in Metroid Prime 3. Mid-fight, if you're out in the open, you could just lock onto a dude and your ship would just rain on them. And every time I mention it, somebody be like, yo, I didn't know you could do that. And I'm like, yeah. I didn't even know in my first play. No, I didn't know, but I forgot and then didn't use it like that. Then, like, on my second, third, and ever since, whenever I play the game, I always remember that and I use it. And it's a cool thing. And I'm like, this is what makes this game to me so awesome. Because as, a fan of the character, it made her just better. Like, it just made her entire scope, like, just cooler. Like, her working with the Federation, but not really being down with them. You know what I'm saying? Her having to basically, go through the same thing that they was going through, but different. Like, the PED suit basically became something that would have to help her out. And that was something that they was using to fight the pirates, you know what I'm saying? And Phazon. and she became corrupted, so it needed to balance her out and everything. All of that was amazing. Waking up and having all these doctors in front of your face, like if you was RoboCop, all of that was amazing. Those things made me like Metroid even more. And around that time was Hunters and everything, so the lore was just being expanded, and then things stopped for a while. But then Dread came back, and they just did new things and Emmy, and people complained about that. But I'm glad that Nintendo is just doing that with Metroid, what they've been doing with their other IPs. And it's like, we're going to do things, we're going to push it into new territory, and either people going to rock with it or they not. And if they don't, they'll probably never make another one. And I'm fine with that, because I'd rather you try and fall on your face and fail than just do the same thing, get the same mediocre sales. And yeah, it's there. Like, I don't even think that would be the case. I think if it just came out and sold mediocre, like under Prime, or not Prime, under Dread, they probably would be like, yeah, that's it. We're not making another one of those ever again, and that would suck, but I would understand. Now, I'm not saying here saying, oh, yo, go support this game because it's going to be great. No, like, yeah, I do think it's going to be great. You know what I'm saying? But it's just wild to see people like, yeah, that's it. That was it. I didn't see a review. I didn't see a full playthrough. I don't know about the middle, to the end. I don't know how the desert works. I don't know if that's trash or if that's awesome. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why they didn't show that and they chose to show this. There's a different conversation that could be had around this game. Hell, what's a real good conversation to have around this game? The one about how it looks absolutely phenomenal. And yet, for 3 videos in a row, I focused on the narrative surrounding this new entry in the game. Only a few weeks out, I focus on the narrative around Miles McKenzie instead of how incredible the animations are. Yeah, I've thrown that in there. But just to let it be known, like, this thing looks incredible. Top to bottom, everything they showed. And I understand that this is, first and foremost, a Nintendo Switch 1 game. So I'm looking at the desert and everything, and I could put, a low poly count here and there aside. That's perfectly fine. And I can just take it all in for what it is that they're trying to do. And I'm excited to explore all the places that look like classic Metroid Prime. I'm excited to explore what the story is going to be, where it's going to take you from beginning to end, and finding and helping out and going on missions where 2, Federation soldiers are helping me open doors. Like, I'm excited to do all of that stuff. All of it. And then you got your desert stuff, all the unknowns, like experiencing that for the first time. It's going to be super, super exciting. And I can't even fathom to imagine this game coming out and being like, yeah, some previews literally broke me to the point where it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm done. And it's okay. Like, be there. Because when the game comes out and it's amazing, you'll be there. You know what I'm saying? You're going to go ahead and either download it right on the eShop, or you're going to go and you're going to buy a copy and you're going to experience it for yourself. Because I want y'all to know, this is what I really do believe at the end of the day. And I'm done talking about McKenzie and all this stuff until we get to the game and I'm playing the game and all of that stuff. Yeah, y'all going to be the minority in the same way that the people who were claiming that the Switch 2 was going to fail, the Switch 1 was a flop, and are right now sitting there knowing that they're completely wrong and it's going to be the biggest best-selling platform of the holiday season, just like it's been the biggest best-selling platform since it came out in the summer. Y'all going to be very, very wrong, I feel, when we're on the other side of this. And then y'all going to be the one screaming at the clouds. And it's going to fit. Because when you look at the age demographic, and I'm not trying to be an ageist or anything like that. I'm just saying, when you look at the age demographic, we're going to be celebrating 40 years of Metroid. So when you experience Metroid, if you was 10, 15 years old, the original, well, I get why you're going to be screaming at clouds. I understand, because it's about that time. You know what I'm saying? So back in my day, you probably do that for a lot of stuff now. You do that for sports. You do that for music. You do that for movies. You probably do that about relationships and how back in your day you used to bag all the girls. And yeah, now you're going to be doing that about your video games and Metroid. Oh man, the games were way better back in the day. Call of Duty, man, back in the day, Odd Job, GoldenEye, that's where it was at. And I love Odd Job and I love GoldenEye. I'm not trying to even throw shade. I'm just saying this is really where we at. You know, when I see people sitting there like, next year we better get Ocarina of Time, and I'm like, wasn't that enough when we got it on the 3DS? Can we get something else? Like, interesting, like Zelda 2 remade? Because that game just been sitting there? That would be cool. You know, that's the most Dark Soul like Zelda game, right? But anyway, yeah, I just know that I feel it. This game is going to do really, really well. And Nintendo's going to be like, yo, Retro, good job. That sold twice as much as Dread. We're going to greenlight another one. Do more of that. And then they're going to say, why did this game sell more? And I'm going to just say, well, maybe it was because the opening of the game really held and crossed all the newcomers, all the youngins of the Metroid future fan base across the street. Yellow armor on and everything, like a crossing guard. Come on, cross, cross. And when they crossed that street, there was like, oh, I'm locked in. I could do this. And then the game started throwing all the Metroid goodies. And you thought you understood what was happening? Well, you didn't know about this. Morph Ball and Screw Attack and Spider Ball and who knows what other abilities. Because I don't know if y'all noticed, but we get abilities very, very, very early in this game. The basic abilities, Federation soldiers are like, oh yeah, here, Samus, you got, yeah, your missiles, yeah, you got that. You want that? Yeah, we found that. Da, da, da. Like, it's a cool way they going about it. You know what I mean? And it's like, why are they doing it like that? I'm guessing it's because the psychic ability is going to be the where the real growth is at. And I've seen that already with the psychic bombs. Like, those are the power bombs, but they're psychic. And you could lay those, you know, or you could, like actually, like, lay them and leave them there, then pick them up and use them. Or you could just lay them and, you know, like in the old games. And it's like, damn, that already has two purposes. What else is going to be like that? There's a lot of cool stuff going on in this game, you know? So if helping people along to experience all those parts, to get through to the end of the experience, and this is going to be a lot, best believe me, a lot of people's first Metroid game. And they know this. They've been selling this game to the masses like, yeah, Metroid Prime, that thing that people love. Yeah, Metroid Prime is back. Play Metroid Prime Bounty Hunter. They're basically introducing you to, oh, Samus Aran every day like if it's the first time. Because they know that this game doesn't reach the sales of your Kirby's, of your Donkey Kongs, let alone your Mario, Zelda, Splatoons, and stuff like that. So they're introducing themselves again. And y'all not even allowing Samus to reintroduce herself. And that's wow. You know what I'm saying? And if it works and people play it through and be like, yo, I love this character. I love this thing. I love the dynamic of the other character. Oh, I wish that character came back. Yo, that dude was cool. And now you went from having Miles McKenzie, the meme, to having these other characters where people are like, yo, I wouldn't mind a spinoff of that guy. You know, well, if you was ever going to make a Metroid spinoff, it should be about her. You know what I mean? And it's the other girl. Like, you, bro, if we get that out of it, that's so much good stuff. But for many people, everything I'm saying is blasphemous because they don't want Metroid to grow. They don't care about growth. Why does Metroid need to be big? Why does Metroid need to be mainstream? Why does it need to appeal to the masses? And it's like, what world have they been living in? Because I swear, it's felt like Soul Valley out here for 20 years. Now, granted, there was stuff in between, but none of that stuff was a FPA. And here we are with a FPA. And dudes is really deep down, I think, wishing like there's something Retro could do. Maybe they could cut out this character. You know, maybe they could just delay the game till next year. Like all kinds of insane takes. Like, yeah, yo, just delay the game. You know what I'm saying? It'd be great. You could cancel the Switch 1 version, make the Switch 2 version be the best version the game could possibly be. You could cut out all this story stuff, screw all the mocap, all the work that the actors did. What? The actors were excited for this game to come out. It could potentially catapult their career into other roles and even potentially come back to play the role that they played in this game. Yeah, screw all that. Nobody's interested in any of that. You cut that out and it'll be a far better experience. At least to me it would. You know what I'm saying? Because trust me, keeping this game stuck in 1994 will do more for it than attempting to do what you've been attempting to do for the last few previous games. Because clearly that hasn't worked. I mean, yeah, Dread sold better. I mean, yeah, Prime 3 sold better than Prime 1 Remastered. So did Prime 2. But still, no, I think you should do Super and Prime 1 over again. You know, let's not focus on sales. Let's not focus on popularity. You know what you should do? Do the same thing over again. Whoa, whoa, why you giving me that look, Nintendo? I know this is not your MO. You're usually doing something different with all the new entries in your game. But trust me, for this one, you should just do that same old thing. I promise you. This time, it's going to work because as it currently stands, what you have here, it is not Metroid. Do you hear me, Nintendo? It is not Metroid. It is not thy's Metroid, me and my conglomerates. We all agree this shall not be and will not come to pass. Like, yo, it's given that. It's really given that right now. The one who lay here before you, with his legions, his conglomerates, have been corresponding, and we've come to the conclusion that you are an interloper. You are taking the thing that we love, and you are making it blasphemous. And for that, you will be hung at dawn. I don't know about y'all, but that's what it's given. That's what it's given. Yo, look, I'm done talking about this until the game comes out. If it leans more towards baby easy Metroid, I'll be here saying that was a mistake. But if it's just an introduction, like many Metroid fans believe it's going to be, in order to introduce people to the mechanics of the game, then that's going to be fine too. But if you try to hold cinematics and story, narrative, IP growth, just trying to do more with the series in this the fourth entry, it can't be the first game. It can't be the second game. It can't be the third game. It's the fourth one. It has to be bigger and better than those. And everything that we've seen from Viola to all of these characters tells me that, yeah, while they all going to play major roles, Viola and the characters and everything, I still see in this overview trailer a lot of Metroid goodness. And when you're solving puzzles and you're platforming and clearing rooms of enemies, that's Metroid. That's Metroid. And these other things being spliced in between doesn't destroy the atmosphere. I don't understand why this game has to be solitary from beginning to end. And if it's like, oh yeah, but that's what makes it a good game, it's like, cool, that's what makes it a good game. Those exist. Super great abilities, great controls, modernized for fairly modern consoles like the Nintendo Switch. Those exist. Why does this one have to be contained into that same box and not be anything else? And is it really a thing where it's because these people didn't play 2 and they didn't play 3? They didn't play 2 because why? It was so isolating. I mean, when you thought the planet you were on was isolated, they literally threw you into a darker, more isolating world. Why wasn't that always called the greatest Metroid game of all time? Is it because there were some moments in there with Federation soldiers? It ruined it. Like, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know what it is, but I truly do hope that it's just a narrative on the internet. And when the game comes out and people see the game is out and they see everyone playing the game and everybody's having fun, and then you got those, one guy right there and all his, his legion and conglomerates sitting there, don't you dare have fun. You there, are you enjoying yourself a bit of Prime 4 Beyond? How dare you? Sword. Like, whoa, yo, sword. Yo, bring me the fire. You're like, damn. It's like that. Yeah, it's like that. They're going to be treating you like you a witch back in the day. Like, this is crazy. Like, just because I'm enjoying this, yeah, they're going to be outside the circle while we all having fun, telling you, don't be having fun. How dare you have fun? Do not have fun. And it's like, yeah, we playing Metroid Prime 4 while you sitting there crying, talking about, I'm having a real Metroid Prime experience. On December 4th, I'm playing Metroid Prime 4, the real Metroid Prime 4. It's called insert Metroidvania game. Hollow Knight. I'm playing Metroid Prime Remastered on this day, to prove my true allegiance to real Metroid, because that, my friends, is not, I say, real Metroid. It's fake, artificial. It's not even made by the true retro. Like, I've heard it all. I've actually heard that one. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's wild. It is absolutely wild that we got to this point. But guess what? From what I'm understanding, seeing the conversations in the Discord with my patron, they're all saying that on platforms like Twitter and everything, people talking about this game, they making AI things, they memeing it and all of that. And I'm like, oh, really? Oh, I don't even need to see it with my own 2 eyes since I don't got that platform. But what I could tell you is, that ain't nothing but a good thing, baby. That ain't nothing but a good thing for old Sammy. Now, why do I always reference Samus Aran
as Sammy. Did I come up with that myself? No. That was actually from Metroid Prime 3. If you know, you know. So yeah, there was levity in there too. But anyway, I know. Yeah, nobody liked that game though. That's crazy because whenever I put up gameplay of that game, whenever I talk about that game, there's always people who are super fond of that game. Even if it's not their favorite in the trilogy, they have nothing but good things to say about it. You know what I'm saying? There's some people who act like Prime 3 is other M quality. And now there's people acting like Prime 4 is other M and Prime 3 quality. It's wild. And why is that? Based off one thing: dialogue in this game, not allowed. So why is it that for so many years, you have people saying, you know what Nintendo should do? They should do a Mario movie. Or, you know what Nintendo should do? They should do a Zelda movie. Or, you know what Nintendo should do? They should do a Fire Emblem. No, nobody ever said Fire Emblem. Nobody ever said Xenoblade. Nobody ever said, oh, do an Earthbound movie. You know what they should do? Do a Star Fox movie. You ain't never hear that shit. You know what you always heard? Metroid. Because it was a time when people used to love to act like Metroid was the big three, the Triforce of Nintendo. Mario, Link, and Samus. When the reality was Mario, Link, and Pika Pika. But people wanted that. How exactly are they supposed to get there without growing the series? If the games ain't selling, at what point do you think they're going to be, oh, you know what we should greenlight? Metroid. Why is that when I talked about, oh yeah, you know what I think the order of Nintendo movies is going to be? Oh, it's going to be Mario, it's going to be Zelda, it's going to be DK, Splatoon. Like Splatoon, yeah. Or it'll be an Animal Crossing style office show, animated or something like that. But it's going to be one of those. Like, damn, not Metroid? Nope. Why? Why would it? Why would they? When their own audience hasn't shown that they got that much love for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to show up for that. And the way we show up is they got to deliver something that we love. It ain't all on us. It ain't all on us. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of us who like Metroid for what it is. We liked it through its isolation period in its first few years. We like it through all its Federation expansion. You know what I'm saying? And we like it where it's currently at, and we want to see where it's going to go. But it ain't enough of us to be like, yeah, you know what? Greenlight a comic, I don't know, some graphic novel or manga, for crying out loud, or like anything to sell a game in Japan. You know what I'm saying? Like, or hey, let's do an anime, or let's do a animated movie. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. There ain't no movement on nothing with that because it has to be movement first on the games. And Dread was a nice first step. But Prime 4 is the one that they've been cooking on for mad long. It's the one with the budget. The budget of budgets. I'm not saying it's the most expensive Nintendo game. I think that still comfortably goes to Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. But this is going to be floating up there in the conversation, the most expensive Nintendo game. You're seeing it from the acting, the mocap, everything. It looks top notch. Top notch. For this game to just come out and just fumble, wither off, and not because of the quality of the game, but because people just have these rule sets of what Metroid needs to be, that's going to be sad. Like, really sad. But I don't believe that's going to happen at all. You want to know why? Because Metroid fans aren't that weird. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not. They're far more Miles McKenzie's. Pretty smart. Pretty intuitive. They see what's going on. So I don't think that'll be the case at all. I think this game is going to do fantastic, like I said earlier. And yeah, I'm excited for what's to come next as we get closer to launch. But yeah, man, I'm just excited to talk about Metroid Prime 4 in my upcoming videos without having to make the conversation about this, because it's done already. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely done. And probably by the time you're hearing this on YouTube, seeing as this is going up early in the week on Patreon, you're probably like, this dude's still talking about that? Like, bro, this was done earlier in the week. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I just wanted to, just get these thoughts out because I'm fully excited for this game. And I only got more excited after that overview trailer. I watched that overview trailer and I actually sat back and watched my reaction to it. And I'm like, look at all this hype, so excited and everything. Then to go online and it's like people trying to turn it into something else. Even though the majority, I truly do believe, are still super excited buying this day one. Even a lot of the ones who talking the most loudest, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like, and this I understand 100% the fanboy in me. It's like, yo, y'all building this narrative that what if there was somebody who was going to buy it,
and now they're like, yeah, I'm not gonna give it a chance because if all the Metroid fans saying it's trash, then that ain't even real Metroid. Then yeah, I'm not gonna buy it. You could be pushing away people from the supposed game that you love from becoming part of the fandom. Like this could have introduced them to all the other games, the ones you like the most, and they could have been like, man, I wish the next one is more like that. And then you could have had one more on your team on the internet saying, man, I want the next one to be fully isolation. And Retro would be like, well, this one did good. We got the budget. We hearing what they want the most of. So let's do a one that's a lot more isolated, you know? And you could have got that. But note, what y'all doing right now is y'all just making people on the outside probably look at it like, yo, what is this corny thing? Oh, this is whack. Oh, they ain't like this. Oh, I guess this ain't a Breath of the Wild. You know, I thought it was going to be because I was hearing that for a while, for years. It was all Metroid Prime 4, Metroid Prime 4. Well, I guess they missed and it fumbled. And that's how people are responding probably right now due to this narrative. And it's coming from people who haven't even experienced the game firsthand. They just saw clips. And again, the clips aren't even egregious. To some people, it's blasphemy that I'm saying that. Like, what? You don't hate it? Like, no, I don't. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon because all of y'all do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have proof, content, saying for years that this is the kind of stuff that I wanted. And they doing it. So anybody who knows me, the reason why my content is getting likes and all that is because they know this is coming from a genuine place. They've seen me talking about Metroid for years. And these are the things that I was asking for. Literally. That's not, made up nonsense like, oh, I'm just changing up the narrative now because the game is this. But originally, Red Knight really wanted a game that was more like Super Metroid or Metroid Prime. You're never going to find that content. It does not exist. It's always been Federation. It's always been Silex. It's always been time travel because of the conversations that Tanabe had 15 years ago where he talked about, oh, if I made another one, it would focus on Silex and time travel. And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Because I assume you're going to do Silex. You're going to do Federation soldiers and all that. It's going to be a crazy epic story. We're going to finally understand why this guy hates the Federation. But people don't want story. Like, what if Silex talks and it's awesome? But y'all don't want story. So y'all don't want the explanation. Oh, we don't need an explanation why he hates Samus and why he hates. We are as fans of the lore, let me tell you something. And I'm going to wrap this up because this is the bar. For decades, ask any real Zelda fan. How long have we talked about the imprisoning war? How long? And then it came to fruition and we got it. Now, and the game exists with it for real. And then there's Metroid. How long have we been hearing about Silex and his hate towards Samus and the Federation, his suit, how he stole it from the Federation? You know that part where he's coming out of that damn, when he's coming out of, I don't know what it is, but Silex is coming out and it looks like he's putting on his helmet or holding his head, one of the two. What if he got it, his ass whooped by Samus, his suit got destroyed, right? And he got away, and then because there's a bunch of Federation crap that got warped to Vuros, he finds more parts and repairs the suit, so he comes out of there, a little bit more enhanced and all of that. Like, there's some good stuff that could happen here, but people are like, nah, you know what it should be? They don't need to explain that. They don't need, this is our imprisoning war moment. It was nice to talk about it, theorize about it, but there was some of us other fans who was like, yo, I want to play that. I want to see that. I want to see that. You know what I'm saying? And it's here. These are things that some of us waited our lifetimes for. Full lifetimes. Like, even the wait between Metroid Prime 3 and Prime 4 is literally basically like damn near more than half my life. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. And it's like, I don't know if I said that right. More than half. I don't know. It don't matter. It's a long chunk of my life. Damn near half, basically. And it's like, yo, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, for a wait for something. Like, I've said this already to myself, in private. And I'm telling y'all this right now. I will never, ever, for as long as I live, ever allow myself to anticipate a game the way I anticipated Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Because I literally anticipated this announcement at every E3. Well, not E3 2008 and 2009. I'm not crazy. I knew it's going to take a while. But I was waiting for 2D Metroid. Oh, 2D Metroid. Oh, it's about to come. But then after 2D Metroid comes out, you're like, yo, what got to be next, right? So every E3, basically, after 20, really, it was around 2011 when we was getting to, the successor to the Wii and all of that. And once Wii U was out, it was like, yeah, Prime 4 time, Prime 4, this console, Prime 4, Prime 4, Prime 4, Prime. Every single E3, every single Direct, every single show, to the point that when it finally happened, it was like, it's not going to be that developer. I was like, well, guys, you're in for a long wait because they're gonna have a problem. Because this is a one-on-one game. You really, yeah, you gonna good luck. And then when what happened, I was like, told y'all. Like I was right even on that. You know, and I was already prepared. I said, listen, I'm already ready for a more Japanese feeling Metroid game. I know they're going to have elements from an FPA, but I'm not going to hold them to that because it's not Retro Studios doing it. It's someone else, supposedly Namco, da da da. And I accepted that. I was already willing to accept change and game design philosophy and things like that just because it was going to be made by someone different. And yet, Retro got it back. They doing what they doing. They continuing what they doing. And it's a whole thing. So I said, either way, if we would have got what they would have did back then, I don't know what would have happened with Metroid. And now we get in the safest thing, which is Retro building on what they did before. And people are, they going in on this game. But again, I mostly feel that it's just a vocal jumping on the bandwagon, parroting what everybody else is saying. You know, people want to feel like they're on the right side, saying, "Oh, you're not. It's trash. It's trash. You're the actor's trash. You're the joke. It's trash." Like, nah, it ain't. It's a moment. A little bit of dialogue at the beginning. It's nothing crazy. Oh yeah, but this shit. And again, Prime 3 is right there. There was jokes in that game, all over. Where was the, you know, where was this like this back then? And I get, oh, social media is more prominent and everything now. Yeah, I get it, but the internet was still a thing back then, and when things got crazy, things still got crazy back then. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna just boil it down to, oh yeah, social media is bigger, like, nah, it just feels like there's a lot of people. Listen, for as much as people talking right now, if everybody who talking shit right now actually played Metroid, I feel like the series would have been in a place where, well, we would have been getting a lot more content, and the series wouldn't be in a situation where we was in Soul Valley for the last 20 years, hoping that, you know what I'm saying? Damn, where's the viola so I could ride my ass out of here to the promised land where Metroid exists? You know, it took us a long time. We here now. Ain't nothing gonna dampen this for me. Full steam ahead, crazy hype, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I am ready. Listen, I appreciate all of y'all for watching my content. You know, I'm trying to, you know, continue to grow, get more subs. So yeah, screw attack that subscribe button, screw attack that like button, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Until then, peace.